Alright class, today I will show you how to multiply radical. So the two part of the radical is the coefficient, the number in front of the radical, and then the radicand is the number inside the radical. So you multiply the coefficient first, and then you multiply the radicand, and then you simplify your result. Okay, so let's practice some of these. So if you have square root 8 multiply with negative 3 square root 2. So I multiply the coefficient. Don't forget there's a 1, invisible 1, in front of the square root 8. So you multiply the coefficient, you got negative 3. And you multiply the square root, the radicand, you will have 8 times 2 is square root of 16. And don't forget to simplify that. Square root 16, basically it is 4. So you will have negative 3 times 4. Your answer will be negative 12. Alright, so number 3. I'm going to choose random problem and do. And you can finish the rest on your own. And the key is at the bottom of your page. So we're going to multiply the coefficient, which is 5 times negative 7, which is negative 35. And then multiply the radicand, 10 times 12, 120. All right, so we have to simplify 120. So I'm going to break 120 into square root of 4 and square root of 30. Because 4 times 30 is 120. And I know my square root of 4 is 2. So negative 35 times 2 will be negative 70. Well, square root of 30, I cannot make it to be perfect square. Okay, 15 times 2, none of them are perfect square. 3 times 10, none of them are perfect square. So square root of 30 is still square root of 30. We'll leave it like that. All right, we are going to move on and do number 6. Okay. Coefficient will be negative 15. Multiply them. Radicand will be 20 times 15 is 300. X times x will be x squared. You add the exponent. And then 300, I'm going to break it down to be what? 103. Right? Square root of 100 times square root of 3 will be square root of 300. And don't forget square root of x squared as well. Alright, square root of 100 will be 10. So we have negative 150. Square root of 3. Alright, square root of x squared will be x because the radical and the exponent, when they are squared, they are cancelled out. So your answer will be x. And we're going to write it at negative 150x square root 3. Okay, let me come back. All right, we do number 7. All right, there's nothing in front of square root of 3 w to the power of 4. So this is 1. So 2 times 1 will be 2. Square root of 45 w to the power of 7. Okay. All right, we're going to break down square root of 45. Will be square root 9 times square root 5. Got 9 times 5, 45. All right, square root of w to the power of 7. All right, so if you don't remember, I have taught you on the previous video of how to do square root of a variable raised to the power of odd number or even number. So think of, you're going to break it down to the closest even exponent. So closest to 7 will be 6. And then w to the power of 1, right? Because 6 add 1 will be 7. All right, so now it's even exponent. So what you're going to do is break it half. It's w to the power of 3. And if you doesn't know how, I'll show you. Is w to the power of 6 is basically w to the power of 3 times w to the power of 3. Right? And this is the answer. The base is the answer. Right? All right, so multiply w to the power 1 is square root of w. Okay, so we have 2 times 3 times square root 5 times w to the power of 3 square root w. All right, all the number and the variable go together, the root go together. So we have 6w to the power of 3 square root of 5w. All right, we're gonna move on to 9 and 10. Watch out for the order of operation. So when you have multiply and subtract, make sure you multiply first, and whatever you have, you will subtract at the end, right? Same thing to number 10. You have adding and multiply, and make sure you are multiplying first, and then whatever you have, you add with the previous number. Okay, so you will follow PEMDAS, parenthesis, exponent, multiply, divide, and then add and subtract at the end. Okay, all right, I'm gonna do 10. So multiply first. So whatever I don't use, I drop it down and take care of that later. So square root of 24x to the power of 6. Okay. All right, 24 will be root 4 times root 6, because 4 times 6, 24. Square root of x to the power of 6. So we have 2 square root 6. Now square root of x to the power of 6, this is even number. What you do is just break it by half, which is x to the power of 3. Okay, so every even number, you just need to break it half. X to the power of 10, the answer will be x to the 5th. Square root of x to the power of 16, your answer will be x to the power of 8. Something like that, okay? I have explained on the previous video just in case you need a refresh. All right, so now you're adding the radical. If they're sharing, having the same radican, you keep the radican the same and you only add the coefficient. So 7x to the third add 2x to the third will be 9x to the third. All right, next we'll be using the distributive properties. Okay, so we're going to multiply the first term to one of the term in the parenthesis, and then you take that term, multiply with the second term in the parenthesis. So square root 6 times 3, and remember one of them is coefficient, one of them is the radican, so you cannot multiply them together like getting square root of 18. So square root 6 times 3 will be 3 square root 6. And then we have square root of 48. 6 times 8, 48. Break down square root of 48, I will have square root 16 times 3. Because 16 times 3 get 48. Then I will have 4 square root 3. All right, and I'm checking, do I have the same radican? No, I don't. So this is my final answer. Next will be FOIL. All right, FOIL. First, outer, so multiply them. And then you multiply this term to this term, go inner, and then last. All right, so 4 times 2, 8. 4 times square root of negative square root 3 will be negative 4 square root 3. And then square root 3 times 2, positive 2 square root 3. And then square root 3 times negative square root 3 will be negative square root 9. And then we simplify. Square root 9 will be 3. And then I have 8 minus 3 will be 5. Whatever I have right here is my like term, sharing square root 3. So I have square root 3. Negative 4 adding 2 will be negative 2. All right, we're going to go ahead and practice 17 and 18. First, we have 30 square root 9. I'm going to use FOIL method because we have binomial times binomial. Inner, we have negative 24 square root 3. Outer, we have negative 10 square root 3. And last, positive 8, negative 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Square root 9 is 3, 30 times 3, 90. Minus 34 square root 3, because they are like term, adding 8. Last but not least, 90 and 8 can be combined. So that is my final answer. All right, if you are working on number 18, okay, a lot of you will square this, and then you square this, and then you combine them. That is not how you do it, right? Remember, the whole thing will need to be squared. So what you do is you are going to take 2 square root 7 plus 1, and you multiply itself. That's how you do the exponent. And again, you're going to do FOIL method if you want to. This one you will ending up with 4 square root of 49. You have 2 square root 7. Adding 2 square root 7. 1 times 1 is 1. Square root 49 is 7, so 4 times 7, 28, plus 4 square root 7, adding 1. So you're ending up with 29 plus 4 square root of 7. All right, so now I'm going to move on and show you how to divide a radical. All right, next will be dividing radical. So for dividing radical, basically you just simplify your fraction. So first you're going to look at the number inside the radical. If you can simplify them, simplify them. But if not, for example, the first one, 49, cannot go to 100. So you break it down to square root of 49 over square root of 100. Okay, and then you simplify each part, numerator and denominator. So square root of 49, perfect square, 7. Square root of 100, perfect square, 10. Number 2. All right, so 8 over 32, I can simplify that before I break it down to part by part. So 8 over 32, they are both divisible by 8. So I'm ending up with square root of 1 over 4. And then I break it down to numerator with the radical and denominator with the radical. So 1 over 2. Because square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2. All right, number 3. This one, 3 cannot go into 16. So you break it apart, square root 3 over square root 16. Square root 3 is still square root 3. Square root 16 is 4. Cannot simplify anymore. This is my final answer. All right, let's find something harder. All right, let's try number 11. All right, when I see 10 over 2 coefficient, I can simplify right away, which is 5 over 1. Right, so 1. You don't have to write down. Square root 48 over square root of 3. Okay, and then I know 48 and 3 can be simplified by 3. They both divisible by 3. So I have 5 square root of, I would say 16. Yeah, and then square root of 1. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I ending up with 1 at the denominator, so there's no denominator. But square root of 16 will be 4. So 5 times 4, 20. So that's my answer. All right, so that is how you simplify, or we call dividing radical. Basically, simplify your fraction. Next will be rationalize the denominator. All right, so to fully simplify means there's no radical left in the denominator. So to be able, so there's no denominator with the radical. So if you're ending up with radical, you have to multiply both numerator and denominator by the radical in the denominator and then simplify. So 13. So ending up with square root of 7, that's not okay. So I need to get rid of that by multiply the bottom by square root of 7 and the top by square root of 7. So I'm going to have a 4 square root 7 for the numerator. The denominator, I will have what? Square root 7 times square root 7 will be 7. Okay, or you can think of 7 times 7, 49, square root of 49 is 7. But two number exactly the same, multiply, the answer is that. Square root of 10 times square root of 10, the answer is 10. All right, number 14. I'm going to multiply the bottom by square root 2, the top by square root 2. So I have square root 10 over square root 2 times square root 2 is 2. And then square root 10, I cannot simplify that. So that is my final answer. All right, let's try 16. All right, so 6 and 18 can be simplified first, right? So go ahead and do that. They're both divisible by 6, so I have square root of 1 over 3. So I have square root 1 over square root 3. And then I have to multiply square root 3 to the top and the bottom. So I have square root 3 over 3. All right, let's find something harder. Let's do number 23. All right, first I'm gonna have to simplify something that I can see right away, which is square root 8, right? Square root 8 will be what? Square root 4 times square root 2, which is 2 square root 2, right? And don't forget this 2 will need to multiply with 2 square root 2. So the bottom I have 4 square root 2. The top still the same. All right, I'm going to multiply square root 2 to the top and the bottom because I don't want my denominator having the radical. So I ending up with square root 6 over 4 times 2 is 8. So square root 2 times square root 2 is 2. 4 times 2 is 8. So that's my final answer because I cannot simplify anymore. All right. Number 18. When I look at this, I can simplify square root 4 right away because I know it is 2, 10 square root 3. And then I think I can simplify more by looking at 2 over 10 is 1/5. And then I multiply square root 3 on the top and the bottom. And I ending up with square root 3 over, this one become 3, so 5 times 3, 15. All right, I hope that you don't turn off my video at this time because I want to show you something that you have to do with the variable, which none of this showing you. So let's try something different. Okay, so I want you to simplify x to the power of 3 over root y to the power of 5. Okay, you want to pause the video and give it a try because this is what you're supposed to know as well. All right, so when I take care of the numerator, I know this will become what? x square root x. If you doesn't know, square root of x to the power of 3, I can break it down to be x squared times x, right? Because 2 add 1 is 3. And then I simplify each of the part. Square root and square I cancel out, so I have x. And then square root of x to the power of 1 mean x square root x. Okay? All right. Square root of y to the power of 5. All right. I have shown you many times, but this is odd number. Again, I break it down to y 4 and 1, right? The closest even number. And then I know square root of y4 will be y squared, cut it half, and then square root of y. Okay, right, let's say again, y9, I will do y8 and then y1. So my answer will be y4, cut it half, square root y. All right, lots of people ending right here and think you are done because you break it down and you cannot simplify anymore. But you forgot that the denominator cannot have square root. So we multiply y, square root of y, to get rid of square root y. So on the top, you're ending up with x square root of xy. Okay, that's all you have. You cannot do anything. The bottom, square root y times square root y is what? Is y. So y squared times y will be y to the power of 3. All right, so that's how you do one of the problem with the variable. So good luck.